What's happening, my friend? My name's David and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'll be giving you 3 actionable steps that you can take in order to help you get through the coronavirus madness. So stick around. So last week I did a video about the coronavirus, and in that video I discussed something which is kind of a bit deep, a little bit dark. Essentially what I talked about in that video was that there's a certain number of people controlling the world, and there's a very good possibility that this virus was released intentionally in order to control the population in more ways than one. And since releasing that video, I've become aware of a lot more information, and I want to share that with you. So here's my take on the coronavirus. Now, before we go any further, YouTube has been telling me that a very high percentage of people that watch my videos are not actually subscribed to our channel. So if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button down below and help support the channel, because it really makes a very big difference. Thank you very much. So let's get into this. So whenever something big like this happens in the world, I always take the information that comes out in mainstream media with a grain of salt. I've become accustomed to questioning things more often than not, and I think a little bit of questioning is very healthy. You don't just want to take someone's word for it. You know, presidents, prime ministers, media, even family and friends. You don't want to take their word for everything as gospel. You do want to do your own research. So let's have a look at some of the facts, or supposed facts, should I say. When this virus first came to light, there was the idea, or it was the story, that it came from animals. And there are a lot of animal markets in China, and it's very possible for viruses to be transferred from animals, things like mad cow disease and Ebola apparently, and there's some other ones. I don't know. I'm not really into that. I didn't really look into all the viruses that have been transferred from animals, but it does seem to happen. However, in this case, I don't think that is what happened, because I've become aware of a number of different things, and I've heard a lot of different stories, one of which was that the virus was grown in a lab in Wuhan and accidentally escaped, and which is definitely a possibility. Now, there's also a possibility that the virus was not grown in Wuhan, but it was released there very intentionally, should I say. Now, 6 weeks before the virus outbreak, they had the International Military Games in Wuhan, China. And that would have been a very good opportunity for a country, I don't know which one, but a country to release the virus there. And then 6 weeks later, we started seeing cases. And why I bring that up is because in a lot of the big terrorist attacks, 9/11, London bombings, Boston bombings, and even the Oklahoma bombing in the early 90s, they all had a simulated attack that day, on the exact day that those attacks happened. And it just so happened that the attacks that happened were done in a way that mimicked 100% the simulation that was happening. So that seems very odd to me. And if you've done any research in any of those kinds of things, it's quite likely that you will agree that none of those attacks were done by terrorists, or perhaps solely by terrorists, that a lot of them were set up for different reasons. Reasons I'm not really going to go into now, but it's probably wise that you do your own research on that if you want to. But my point is that because this thing happened in Wuhan, and 6 weeks only before they had military games in Wuhan, China, that just seems a little bit coincidental to me. And actually 2 weeks before the games happened, they had an event called Event 201. I'm going to leave a link down below for the website. And basically what Event 201 was a simulated pandemic to see how the world would react and see what kind of damage, I suppose, it would do in terms of casualties. And what they found out was that within a period of 18 months, if something like this were to happen, which is funnily enough because 2 months after they did this simulation, it did happen, 65 million people would have died. So fair enough. You want to do these simulations every now and then to see what will happen. I think it's quite important to know how to react in a situation like this, to how governments would react. I don't know if the way the governments are reacting is exactly how they would have reacted in the simulation. Whether it's better or worse, I don't know. Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention was the fact that I think 2 days before China went into lockdown, there was a Harvard chemical professor who was arrested at an airport in America with two of his students, one of which was Chinese, and this particular student had 21 vials of chemicals in his socks, and this is secondhand information, but I am going to leave a link down below to the article about that, about the arrest. But what was in those vials was apparently coronavirus, although they said at the time it was cancer research, and he was on his way to Wuhan. So if this virus was a naturally occurring virus that occurred in animals, then why would he have it in his socks? That's another thing to question. The other thing is that this virus apparently attacks people of Asian descent, and it wouldn't make any sense that the Chinese government would create a virus like that. Why would a virus attack people of Asian descent more so than another race? Seems a bit strange. So what I think has happened, this is my theory, and you don't have to buy my theory, you can do your own research, but what I think has happened is that a government, or perhaps many governments, have come together to release this virus onto the world, and in doing so, they are wanting to distract the world from what is really happening in the stock market, in the economy. Now, as you're probably aware, the economy is kind of come to a standstill in a lot of countries. A lot of countries are in lockdown. Most people can't go to work. A lot of industries are at jeopardy. The entertainment industry, bars, clubs, and restaurants, all those kinds of things, hospitality, because no one's allowed to go anywhere. No one's allowed to sit in a restaurant. And a lot of things are happening in the US markets, in the stock market. There's another guy I follow called Gregory Mannarino who talks a lot about, he's a share expert, and he talks a lot about what's going on there. The Federal Reserve is buying up assets and printing money like there's no tomorrow to get us out of this recession that we're probably going, that inevitably we're going to hit, maybe even a depression. Obviously, as a result of all of this, the coronavirus has been kind of a scapegoat to the fact that whenever there's a big recession, like the GFC, like the dot-com crash, like the crash of 1987 and all the other ones, there's always a transfer of wealth, and that's happening right now. And the wealth is being transferred from the majority of people in the share market to the wealthiest people in the world, and that's what's happening. Now, another thing that has been brought to my attention was the fact that a lot of CEOs have quit their positions over the last 6 months. CEOs of huge companies like Nike, Disney, Warner Brothers, and the list goes on, even Microsoft. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? Like, did they know that something was going to happen? Like, why did they all quit before the coronavirus? And why was there such a big number of CEOs that quit within that 6-month period? I don't know. So I wanted to give you the 3 steps now, the 3 things that I think really should be doing, apart from the obvious common sense hygiene steps that everybody should be doing, washing your hands, social distancing, and all that kind of stuff. But things are going to help you from a mindset perspective. Things are going to help you get through this hard time, because it is going to be tough. And the first thing is to stay calm. Everywhere you see people panicking, people are fighting over toilet rolls, fighting in supermarkets, which is the reptilian part of the brain, survival instinct kicking in. And when that happens, your subconscious mind is running your life. And more so than that, it's just a survival mode. You can't really do much other than survive when you're in that mode. Now, the subconscious mind is ruling your life most of the time anyway, 95 to 99% of the time. But when you're in survival mode, things are very different. It's like every man for himself. You're only really out for you or your family, and you do everything you can to get what you need. And that's not really what we need to be doing. We need to be coming together, unifying, sharing things, and showing some compassion for other people. A lot of supermarket employees getting abused at this time, and that's just ridiculous. I don't understand why, but they're doing their job, and that's exactly what happens when people panic. So step 2 is to be present. Be present in the moment. When you're constantly thinking about what could happen in the future or thinking about the past, you're not present. And when those two things are happening, it's very difficult to really kind of live your life how you want to live it. Being present allows you to be still and in the moment, and because in the present moment nothing is happening. It's just you and your breath, and hopefully not your thoughts, because if you're thinking about things, most likely it's going to be thinking about what could happen in the future, right? And the future hasn't arrived yet, the past is gone, so all we really have is the present moment. A few ways that you can be present. You could put your hand under some cold water and really feel the cold water and be mindful of it when it's hitting your hand. If you're outside, you can just think about, you could ask yourself the question, what am I seeing right now? And you could name a few things. I'm seeing a car go by, I'm seeing a plane maybe fly overhead, or I'm seeing some trees, or a couple walking their dog or something. You could say, what am I hearing right now? Maybe you're hearing a bird, maybe you're hearing somebody with a lawnmower. I don't know, all of these things are happening right now in that moment, and those are the things that are going to help you stay present. And the other thing that you can do is to meditate. Now, meditate really calms the mind. It really allows you, also it increases your presence. It can also boost your immune system. There are a bunch of different benefits to do with meditation. But if you wanted to just take 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and at night before you go to sleep, just to kind of sit there and close your eyes and focus on your breath, slow your breathing down, then I think that will really help. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. That's it. I wanted to share my thoughts on the coronavirus with you, and also just to remind you to stay calm and unite, and share the love, share the resources with people, because this is really a test to the world. This is a test to humanity in many ways, and this is the kind of thing I think that we kind of really need at this point in time, because for a lot of our lives we've been disconnected, and it's really a time to come together and connect as a species, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. So on that, I'm going to leave you. I want to thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. But until then, peace, much love, take care, stay safe.